Video is about the origin of drill. The exploitative origin. Many of Drill's tweets relate to myself, which has various origins. Not only being, a member of the Homestuck team, but also being a longtime fan of Ren and Stimpy, and a reader of John's blog, and a participant in cartoon communities. That's who Drill is, but nobody's going to acknowledge it besides me, at least before this video. His work also relates to parts of God's design, which I not only focus on, but also I understand in ways that perhaps nobody else does. So, you can see at the bottom, Drill doxed. Homestuck fans did that. So, Drill is a good example of the purpose of people taking the show Ren and Stimpy very literally, as if it's just a children's cartoon that did some cartoony drawings and jokes that doesn't apply to any other medium, because Drill has a ton of Ren and Stimpy influence, and he uses this influence for posting, not for drawing characters that look like SpongeBob. Just by itself, people are overwhelmed to think of how much influence the show Ren and Stimpy actually had. Oh, Kitty's stretching on me. Kitty. It's not just cartoonists. It's filmmakers, it's tweeters, and it's other people. Here's a notable tweet. If your grave doesn't say rest in peace on it, you are automatically drafted into the skeleton war. In fact, this war relates to the Underbeasts. Underbeasts create memes, and they direct the course of memes across the internet as a meta-mimetic reality, as one aspect of their existence. Underbeasts have individual existences that are separated amongst the currents of memes, but people can't figure this out. But it's there. And so as people meme and do other stuff on the internet, they are participating in the skeleton war, because, these are monsters and they like to fight. And there's other meaning for the skeleton war, such as, the notion of cosmic war, which can be associated with skeletons in various forms. The cosmos, with a lowercase c, can be imagined to be orbiting the Earth. So there's a war going on there. It's like in the DC universe. Once you leave Earth, you run into all these aliens and stuff. You can imagine the cosmos as being like the DC universe. And so, Drill was confused as to why this tweet was so popular, one of his most popular. But I wasn't. I made the Skeleton War King a boss design for my game Saba. And the boss does things like rant and rave about skeletons being enslaved by the fleshy ones. Funny thing is, people didn't want to actually, read and discuss this design. I got one comment saying that he was going to show it to Valve, and that was it. Of course, this was a big tip-off that the whole Homestuck project, although Drill didn't join it yet, was completely exploitative of myself. They weren't going to give anything in return, like reading my own content. After all, it's all cosmic and heavenly and stuff. It's all Catholic and stuff. I was becoming more acquainted with faith to facilitate this work. They don't want that. They want to hang out with a bunch of lame leftists who write like crap, write like shit. Here's the book length Sweet Bro and Hilda Jeff that Dril worked on as a member of the team. And my best friend did the cover with him. And after reading this, I eventually got pissed off and threw it away while making a Terminator reference. The concept of Sweet Bro and Hilda Jeff involves things being intentionally bad, so to say. So although I had a lot of Zoomer art student trolls ranting about how good my work is without using any details or actually looking at my work, they just wanted me to make work that they could exploit for free, just as Dril and others did, because there's already established in this homestuck thing the value of doing things in a way that is called bad. And so Dril became a success using this badness. And so he got to enjoy a privilege which my trolls did not want me to have. Because if I'm putting a lot of effort into everything, then I'm making valuable stuff for them to exploit for their careers. I even see one of those, Five Nights at Freddy's imitations, clones. It made a design that looks like one of my Cal Arts parodies. The Cal Arts style, Gumball, Gravity Falls. It looks very similar, one of my drawings, to one of the designs for this game. And I don't really care. Like at all. So, they tried to insult me, and then a series became a big meme by looking like that and making lots of money. So anyway. So, here's an email I sent to Dril, and about his propensity for making tweets or posts about a messaging barrage. It was supposed to be a part of a messaging barrage, but I slipped up. So the subject of this email is him making jokes that in fact refer to my relationship to my friend, who was a prominent member of the Homestuck team and the life of the team. This is being sent again to various leftist leaders to highlight how pathetic their worship of Dril's tweets was. And also a coffee shop that hosted a Homestuck event, as Homestuck is a crime. Bad Faith Podcast is on, whatever. All these things fuel themselves creatively with Drill's tweets. They speak like Drill's tweets. Where do they get their words from? Exploitation of myself. And so they crow and crow and crow about their very convoluted and nonsensical advocate for the poor. But really they were just exploiting a Catholic, and they loved to do so. It's all very illustrative. God's really painting a picture here. And these jokes, wife jokes, there's a notable one. This was shortly after I went into isolation. Girl jokes. And this one was, oh, I see how it is. I make the best content online for all my girl followers, and when I ask to live with them for free, they leave me for dead. That was one of his tweets. And right after, he tweeted, I'm going to be climbing power lines until I'm less pissed off. And then the next tweet was a gorilla climbing power lines in a newspaper. So the whole joke here is about my situation at the end of my young adult life, which is really what it was. Because I would talk about finding money, but it sure seemed difficult to find any. And why was this? Yes, Homestuck was making a business out of exploiting myself through the various posts I put on the internet and so forth, helping to inspire the very idea of posting for Ren and Snippy fans like Dril, and they wanted to keep this scam going. Oh yeah. And so, this inspired young animation students and other people, like various individuals I'm messaging in this barrage, I haven't completed it yet, to make fun of me, saying, oh, everybody hates you, because Drill cracked jokes about my life troubles, in addition to other reasons. But number one, people don't actually know me. They don't know things about me. My trolls can't actually acknowledge a single thing about me. They can't acknowledge that my best friend worked on Homestuck. They can't acknowledge that Andrew insulted me in front of his fan base. They can't acknowledge that Homestuck wouldn't have existed without me to serve as a source for all the garbage it put together. So, for reference, in the upper right of this image, for people who haven't, read my articles, this is my dog character in the upper right. Was the basis of the Bec Noir character. One of the villains. He's good at, just stuff. A type of destruction. So anyway. And Drill also set up Zoomer jokes because they can't actually say anything coherent. They also set up Zoomer motivation for trying to laugh at me. Like babbling babies. By, just highlighting me not making money while, I was making all these good posts for girls or whatever. But really, I had already made a lot of money. Every single dollar made off of Homestuck is money that I produced for others. And so really, the money they were making is something that belonged to me. I could have ended the careers of people involved with Homestuck at any time. Just as a few years ago, I did my pre-initiative and the whole Homestuck community just ceased public activity. So, there should be some way of getting money into the hands of the guy who thousands of people are making millions of dollars off of. There should be some way. Not going to explain how. They should be able to figure it out on their own. So that's one of the things were being illustrated back then. Because now there's going to be a whole bunch of trouble because people couldn't figure it out. It's really teaching people a lesson from God and also other spiritual authorities. Part of this email involves my video game story, Asteria Nights. So, I'm writing about the story of my series. And I had to stop doing this for, what was it, like 9 years or so. Sometimes simple math gets difficult for me. And you know, while homestuck people like Dril were enjoying their lives, getting famous and not so rich, I couldn't work on my own projects because, let's see, I needed my best friend who joined the homestuck team, and I also needed others of those famous girls. Yeah. I'm not interested in having sex with girls. I'm interested in making artwork with them. So yeah. That's where Dril and others also got the energy for being an icon to LGBTQ, because artistic relationships can be very wide-ranging, can involve a lot of people. So that gave a sort of feeling, a sort of energy source for the polycule nonsense and whatnot. But also, an artistic relationship can be very special, like a marriage, as it is for me and my best friend, because, I literally lost the ability to progress my projects, except for my project, which came from a near-death experience, spiritual visions. So. And there's also this Kill la Kill article. I'm very offended by people who don't take Kill la Kill seriously. So, another notable thing is that the trolls, on 4chan, the comics and cartoons board, they were posting snippets of this article and expecting me to get mad, but that was a little grooming tactic designed for other Zoomers, because I just straight up told them, you're mutilating the meaning of the article. You can't take parts away. It needs to stay together. They don't expect that I understand things, but I do. And as you can see here, discuss enemy. My dog, cutting-edge theology, girl dependency, and other subjects. Some profound subjects, but these trolls were just babbling Homestuck fan nonsense to try to draw away fire from Homestuck for the sake of their art careers, but it doesn't work. And these trolls were motivated because this is one of the most meaningful articles involving my best friend, and so they're very upset that the truth is coming out about her. They loved to gloat for years. Oh, everybody's laughing at you. Everybody's laughing at you. But they didn't actually know anything about me, and now that they are actually learning about me, it makes them very uncomfortable. They just kind of get all frantic, run around like idiots. So, I asked AI which anime most represents the underrealm, and it said Neon Genesis Evangelion. And it probably said that because I've mainly loaded abstract information into it. Or I would have probably said another, related work. Of course, Dril can't get away with being a big whiny baby for his leftist fan base, complaining about, because Twitter before Elon came along, yeah, that sure was a funny place. Or did you just give up on the humor and the surrealism for the sake of your grift, Dril? Is your grift for the leftists most important? Because it sure seems to me like I can destroy that grift, and I haven't even made a lot of money off of it. So, And here's the famous Candles tweet. Candles has a lot of significance in my webcomic. All the things of God's green earth, they all have their deeper significance. Not just like little pieces of consumer product or whatever. And you can see here, this famous tweet was done on the 29th of September, 2013. That can convert into 2 9s, 99, another 9 from September, 999, and 13. These are my most special numbers, It's, it's my birthday and other things like the price of Saba as planned. Too bad for inflation, right? And so the joke here relates to me, being in poverty, even though I didn't literally have this much money. I figuratively did. Because, I was putting my money into candles, which are important in my webcomic, and this money is abstract. And there's also this other money here. An disproportionate amount of utility. And, disproportionate amount of data. So, which represents the internet fixation. And so, someone who is good at the economy, please help me budget this. My family is dying. And my family can refer to those I was trying to, live a life with back then. But it sure was difficult when, the Tumblr culture was excitedly parasitizing my mere existence at the same time that they pretended to care about the poor and built the careers of people like Hazan because of all this pretending to care about the poor from non-Christians. And so, my potential social relationships were dying. The potential places I could have gone in life are dying. People's personalities were dying. Until, there was just a wasteland of a not very meaningful existence random artists living their lives. But there wasn't the meaning of interconnection that existed back then. And so that tweet is pretty sarcastic because I would have already known that amongst all this sin, there is no way of fixing it. There's no budget. Just going to have to wait about 10 years to get revengeance against people like Dril after he rotted away to become this lefty darling. And this is one of the tweets which show his origins from places like cartoon forums. There's a lot of something awful, quote unquote, funny men, but amongst them Dril was special. He was different from the others. What made him special? Primarily his cartooning. And when I was a teenager, criticizing cartoons was a big drama. People would gape in shock and horror over just criticizing some cartoons. Primarily because they were trying to build careers as people, who can't draw cartoons. But at least Dril can draw cartoons. So am I to understand that you are willing to leave animation students harassing me on a daily basis, taking glee in destroying my life? And meanwhile, I can't even make a response? Question mark? That's even beyond the longhouse. And there we go. Your culture can at least see what my work actually fucking is before it decides to leave me in a state of perpetual nastiness. If we want to I want to develop my own fucking projects while you people make big profits off of my teenage self to this day. And there you go. Yeah, I'm not fooling around anymore. Either they're going to listen, or I'm going to do as much damage as I can, which is a lot. They've been afraid of that. You and the rest of the Homestuck team exploited me for your careers, income at the expense of my video game project, about AI development and other projects, I'd say AI is good. Period. Have fun. Series. Screaming now. But when you're all alone, apparently they could even put in the whole tweet here. But this tweet about the flag relates to the abstract symbolism of things like flags, how they represent, a country or something else. I have a lot to say about what the, LGBTQ flags represent. the various abstract subversion and all. Of course, the rainbow is the obvious one, but whatever. This one represents dril reflecting upon, the little age of my teenage efforts, because I was taking people to task for the quality of their opinions, because people making media for children should have good opinions and stuff. They shouldn't be pushing wrong ideas on them, as public schools do most of the time. And so, this tweet expresses how much more relaxing it is, to be living his life in the 2010s without my teenage revolution happening successfully. Of course, he's been seeing the, ramifications of that. Now, it seems getting aspy. I'm sorry, dunked in toilet. There's no excuse for my behavior. Shoved in locker. I'm trying to make progress with therapy. It seems like it's not so easy anymore. And this is what Bugs Bunny represents. He looks cute and soft and cuddly and like a big prey animal, but then you find out that he's going to beat your ass. So, and this whole locker thing shows how there's something awful sort of culture metastasizes, because locker is a symbolic abstraction for someone's, life context, his online environment, and so forth, as I discussed with AI. The current internet, even though they said, oh, the Wild West internet has that Wild West internet has already passed. The Wild West where legendary gunslingers went around dark towers speaking their opinions out loud. Yeah, that's what the Wild West was, right? So anyway, this is more like the Wild West, but a very pitiful, primitive, pagan, of course, childish Wild West, going around attacking people to have the right platforms, to have the right jobs, and in their minds, they're still lost in public school, and they're scrambling to be the jock, and if they have the most followers, if they have the most clout, they get to be the jock, and the under candidates get to be the nerds in the locker. That's what it's actually about. It's not actually about what happened when people were in school. It's about what's happening in the present. It's just a metaphor. Visit San Antonio. That's funny. Just because my name is Anthony, and I'm a big fan of St. Anthony. Yeah, I'm a fan of him. So anyway, and here we have another cartoon joke. It's kind of weird that Dril is so famous a poster. He makes all these cartoon jokes. When I say cartoon jokes, I mean specifically cartoon community culture. It relates to what people were talking about on various forums, on John K's blog. Clearly, he hasn't left those days behind. And there's a bit of a twist on this joke, because the executives at the networks, they actually thought The Simpsons was popular because the characters were yellow. They looked at The Simpsons and SpongeBob and said, oh, yellow is the thing. I've actually seen some animation Zoomers share this opinion, agreeing with executives of the past, because they'll grab onto any garbage opinion and they'll believe anything if it means spiting John Cristofalusi, who criticized executives. And this joke is a twist. It wasn't profitable because the characters were yellow. It actually should have been more profitable, but the yellow coloration was crippling them. That's specifically a cartoon community joke made just one day ago. So, that shows how thoroughly established this history is in Dril's brand. Here's a tweet. I love this tweet about the thumbtacks. And you can see here the origins of things like, Undertale with suns and his blue eye and stuff. Luna energy relates to the trickster. The trickster is, the Lord of Darkness upon the earth, who left the earth because of sin. Yeah. And the moon represents him. So, that's nice. Really makes me feel better about life. And so, in my webcomic, I'm associated with blue, and either my dog or my brother is associated with red. And the red ones are all the Panera breads he's been banned from. So that associates my dog with, internet bans. This was also a visual used in Homestuck, the thumbtacks. And as a teenager, I called into question whether real things were actually real. It made people have surreal feelings. So, and jail also relates to the underrealm, since it creates a variety of, police-related things. And, of course, this also relates to the worship of the police that was common on Dril's page before he became desperate to please leftists. So, this one, July 26, 2016, actually relates to the ending of Homestuck, because going to take a break to highlight the significance of hosting. This kid has been raised on the Tuttle twins, which really shows the nature of Protestantism as the Babylon Bee is oriented to. Protestants do not actually believe in transcendent goodness. They believe in conflict between one faction of the world and another faction of the world immortalized in politics. This all has to do with the white domain, a special part of the spiritual dimensions of the earth, which Protestant denominations orient themselves to instead of heaven, because the white domain is fallen like the rest of the earth. So you shouldn't be, too involved in trying to live by it, And you can see how kids get raised by things like memes. When people sought control over the memes My Teenage Revolution was creating, they were seeking control of, the next generations of children. That includes conservatives. When I was a kid, right away, I saw public school as a hell dimension, which is intended to prey upon children. A dreary and miserable place, which adults try to gaslight kids to think is normal, but that didn't work at all for me. Conservatives, by and large, are not aligned with God. with some exceptions, but not a lot of, atheists and all that. Not a lot of non-believers, rather. And I encountered a lot of frustration on 4chan because, a lot of their memes were developed in alignment with my teenage revolution. So they get so frustrated because, I actually want control of the things I contribute to the world. So they act all petulant and attack nonsensical strawmen. Kids should not be growing up with politics regardless. Kids should be growing up with friendly things which are aligned with the heavens, like cartoon classics such as Looney Tunes or Underdog. And so there's a lot of significance to cartoons, which is why leftists, they decided to define winning by how they could use dril tweets, all parasitic upon myself. Wow. And you see here in the upper right, the belief I'm most attacked for is the belief that my high IQ makes me a target is actually true in the present for me. As, animation community people, they try to deny, as well as others, they try to deny that I am targeted for my knowledge, for my contributions, in my history and all that, but they are terrified of actually reading my articles and seeing what I actually think. So they just refute themselves constantly. This tweet relates to how I chose artwork when in fact I am more naturally inclined to write, to make myself more well-balanced and accomplished at a young age, as well as the significance of things such as numbers, which I discuss, beyond mathematical computations. So all of these things that are significant to childhood. Continuing with numbers, this is a symbolic amount, which is a small amount, and since that's the year that was the beginning of America, it can represent American freedom. So, I believe in America, and so this tweet can relate to me skimming off income for the sake of my sense of American freedom, and that makes people like Dril my employee, and this is going to be a painful process because they do deserve pain. So I have something interesting to finish this video with. Not only is this Undertale fan babbling about the Pope playing Undertale, as you can see here, but this person is also gloating about all the damage all these Tumblr people did, mainly from 2012, while I was just trying to live a normal life and move in with one of the people involved with the production of Undertale. What a memory that is. And here Undertale fans are having a big celebration of this event. That's quite a legacy, Drill, don't you think? See? And there's the gaslighting. Oh, it never happened. Oh, it never happened. We just spewed tons of hatred, and it was just some kids playing on the internet or whatever. You know? And then they moved on to their human kingdoms and their troll kingdoms. You know. And they turned into statues, like in the Act 7 animation of Homestuck. So, that's quite a story. Of course, Drill hurt my feelings many times. What I'm referring to here, people just can't quite wrap their heads around spewing that much negativity. But I guess that's why I'm just so special, you know. I'm just foreshadowed by one of the coolest things, Lord of the Rings and all that. That must be it. Otherwise, you're all just incredibly atrocious people for no reason. And that's not rational. Yeah. Oh, but I go around explaining that I was exploited for the non-binary trend as a Catholic. And also, my best friend worked on the game, yet you celebrate her life and mine being ruined. Period. I'm sure that will gatekeep many things. That's better. Smog. Yeah, baby. Oh yeah, baby. Do you think it's going to be fun, Drill, to be Drill? I'm not sure. I must admit, my messaging campaign can be rather difficult because the Undertale community, the Homestuck community, all the lefties who enjoy Drill and so on and so forth, they oriented and built the internet to be difficult for me to navigate. Literally playing off of my very psychology. And so it's confusing for me just to figure out who to message. But it's getting so much easier. Thank you, Lord. And thank you. Ah, yes. The trickster in outer space. I mean, outer space near God's holy kingdom. Coming with an unholy tidal wave. An unholy tidal wave of nightmares. I love that unholy tidal wave of nightmares. I've been imagining it for like 10 years. It's beautiful. That unholy tidal wave of nightmares.